Our intro music is provided by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
Hey, this is Gary from Night Dreams Talk Radio. I want to welcome a new sponsor to our show, PhoenixShaving.com. I know what you're thinking, right? Oh, another disposable razor company. Well, the fact is they're not. You remember the razors that your father and his father shaved with? Did you ever notice they didn't have, well, the embarrassing razor burn or ingrowing hairs or the razor bumps after they shaved? Did you notice they were also relaxed after they were done shaving? Well, the problem is these big corporations want to sell you razor after razor after razor. Think about how much money you spend a year on razors. Or do you use electric razor? Then you're going to find out what razor burn is. So you need to check out Phoenix Shaving Starter Kits. They come complete with the soap, the brush, and a 2.5-month supply of blades. And the most important part of it, an all-metal razor built to last generations. So, hey, you can donate it to one of your sons when they turn 18. Check out PhoenixShaving.com and tell them that Gary from Night Dream said, hey, I want one. That's PhoenixShaving.com now.
Check out Night Dream's website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com.
You're listening to Night Dreams Radio with Gary Anderson.
Well, I hope everybody's having a good night tonight. Well, boy, the week is kind of going fast for me. I don't know about you. Hey, tonight I kind of got a little family emergency, so we're only going to do about a half-an-hour show tonight. We'll be back again on Friday, back on our regular 3-hour broadcast. But tonight we have Mary-Joyce on, who's going to give us a little bit of, well, what's going on, and UFOs and Bigfoot, and, well, maybe some Earth changes. Mary, are you there? Okay, are you there, Mary?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. I could blame that blunder right there on Skype, but actually it was my fault.
Well, we're connecting, so that's the important part.
Yeah, well, what's going on with UFO reporting, Bigfoot, and Earth changes right now?
Well, the last time that you and I really talked, we were batting around the idea of kind of focusing on UFOs. And one of the things that I feel real strongly about on the website that I edit, which is called skyshipsovercashers.com, is that whenever possible, I like to be able to give people information so they can find real, authentic things for themselves. I'll give you an example. There have been some great things that have been found on Mars, entrances that are square-cut and big enough for a major airplane to fly into. Now, that sounds really great, and if you see somebody's website and you see a picture of this, you go, okay, did somebody fake that, or is that real? So what we do is we get the coordinates so that people can actually use Google Earth and go to Mars and find these things for themselves. And I think that's real important. You know, we're living in a world where we have fake everything, and so the more that, people, your listeners, can find things for themselves, it's much, much more convincing. And one of the things that people can do is something called sky fishing. Have you heard that term batted around before?
No, I actually haven't.
Well, what happens is so many pictures of UFOs we do not see with our eyes. And then when people go back and look at their photos, they go, oh my gosh, look what's in this photo. And so sky fishing is actually where you just go out and start snapping pictures of the sky. And many times you will catch something, quite surprisingly. And when I first started doing this, it was back in 2009. And I go, okay, this, what are the chances this is going to happen? And I aimed it at the sun. And I caught this orb that's around the sun. It sometimes looks blue, it sometimes looks white. And I kind of went like a nutty person, taking pictures all the time, snapping up at the sun. And no matter, almost without failure, you would find this orb. And sometimes it would go in and out of the brightness of the sun. Sometimes it would move, in different positions, like from the 2 o'clock position to the 4 o'clock position. And it just became quite fascinating. And many people at the beginning said, well, that's just a camera effect. And one of our more remarkable pictures, we actually had somebody who was involved with the Hubble project analyze it for us. And he said it was not an optical effect. It was something very real that was being caught. So we thought that was a really, fantastic endorsement. And, anybody can try this. And actually, you can have better success with a cheap camera than you can with a very expensive one. I have an expensive Canon and a regular one I can carry in my purse. And the expensive one will sometimes say, it's not going to take this picture because it's too bright. The little camera doesn't give me any resistance, and so sometimes I'm able to get better pictures of what we have called the blue moon. And, sometimes you can't see it, but most of the time you can get it in the middle of the day. And I encourage people to go out and, just give it a try.
That is so cool. There's somebody who's been posting up on Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it. They're claiming like there's Planet X that's right there by the, off to the sun. I don't know if you've seen their posting, but that kind of, when I read that, I wasn't so sure about that one.
We did. We've done so many things on the Facebook. On our page that it's sometimes hard for me to remember to tell people where they can go and find it. But
no, it wasn't on your page. Somebody was just posting that on Facebook, for a couple weeks straight, pictures of the sun and drawing a circle and saying, "Hey, this is Planet X, right next to the, the sun, and it's heading towards Earth." I don't know.
We've been hearing about that sometimes from whistleblowers within NASA or that would tell us about this going back into the 1990s that I can remember. But most people couldn't ever see anything for themselves because supposedly it is approaching the Earth from the South Pole. Now the thing has gotten so close that we actually were able to do a series of photos that were taken from webcams that were spread out over Alaska. And so when you pick this up at multiple webcam locations, it becomes, again, much more convincing. And that's what I want people to do more of, is to find a way that they can actually confirm some of this for themselves. And that's one way to do it.
Now, if that is Planet X, does that mean doomed to Earth?
I have to tell you, I'm a kind of a short-term pessimist, but a long-term optimist. I really don't think the Earth is going to come to an end. I think we're going through a whole lot of stuff, and that's obvious right now, no matter which arena you're in. Politics are messed up. It seems like human beings can't run any of their systems right. And we're having all sorts of, climate and weather changes, and there's certainly a lot of humongous new things happening, but I'm not one who believes the Earth is going to come to an end.
Okay. Isn't the magnetic field drastically changing, kind of really speeded up in the last couple of years, too?
It's been doing a lot of strange things. And the wobble, is quite severe sometimes, and the speed of the turning of the Earth, it's sort of like a gyroscope. And I don't know if you ever had one of those when you were in science classes when you were a kid, but when they're spinning real fast, they stand up perfectly straight and they spin real smoothly, and but as it begins to slow down, it wobbles and it eventually tips over. We're probably we are in some kind of a magnetic pole change now, and airports have had to change their signage because magnetic North Pole is switched, and I think those kind of changes are continuing. It's moving more toward, the last I heard was the magnetic North Pole was actually moving more toward Siberia. And if that's the case, that could very well explain at least some of the weather changes that we're having, not all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me wonder, especially like when you just mentioned the earth wobble. I ride a motorcycle. It's the same principle. You get up to a certain speed, and it goes into the gyro effect. I mean, you can basically take your hands off the handlebars and go straight down the road. When you start getting down to a slower speed, and
You
to
better
a point,
not do it then.
Yeah, well, you get slow enough, perfect example. You fall off your motorcycle doing 60 miles an hour. That bike is going to travel straight for a long distance till it starts slowing down enough, and when it gets slow enough, then it's going to go over.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Probably better than a gyroscope, because I'm not even sure half of your audience would even know what a gyroscope is. I don't know.
It's a doohickey with a whatchamacallit. That's what it is.
It's hard to describe if you haven't seen one.
Yeah. So I know that talking to a pilot, they said it has moved quite a bit in the last couple of years, the magnetic field, which, if they didn't update their computers on a regular basis, that they wouldn't even land at the airport.
Right. Absolutely. I can't remember the span right now, but the magnetic pole has moved the distance of, I think it was like from Miami to Jacksonville or St. Augustine over just a very short number of years, and that's quite a distance.
Oh yeah, it was moving back in the 90s and the early 2000s, but it was only moving inches a year, and now it's not moving inches a year. That's the scary part.
Right, you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of support for that. It's not just somebody's harebrained theory.
So what do you think about our president creating a Space Force? I came under some flack, honestly, Mary, about this. Back around November, they released the videos of the two fighter pilots, the Navy pilots, chasing a UFO. And then about a month, or actually a couple months later, the Secretary of the Air Force, giving a presentation to the cadets, said the next war will not be a land war. It's going to be in outer space. And then a few months later, our president joked around and said, hey, maybe I should create a Space Force. And then last week, he gave orders to, start the process.
I personally think that the space military or program already is full-blown, is completely in existence. I think there might be an effort to have that aspect of our military as separate, so it doesn't get all entangled with the Navy and the Air Force. And so I think he's simply verbalizing something that's already in existence. Well, I would not give him, I don't give him credit for the concept at all.
No, I don't. I really honestly feel that maybe it was coming to a point where they couldn't cover it up much longer. And
that could be true. That could be true.
So they
still are doing great things to try to keep secrets from all of us. I was just talking to people real recently about Clark McClellan, who worked with NASA for over 30 years and had very, responsible positions. He was actually an astronaut who did a lot of the testing on the ground so to make sure it was totally safe for those who actually went into space. And during one of the secret launches, he was in a room, a secret room, where he had the ability to see a TV-like monitor.